I need you to stop thinking about target switching as a singular big package, and instead start understanding what each field is meant for. Larger scenarios won't be working the same things as smaller or more precise target switching will. But then the question still remains, when do we use what and how do we structure our progress for the most optimal success? Stay with me and find out. So playing target switching, we run into a couple of issues, namely realizing what is it even used for, and in reality all it is flicking. Everyone can benefit from it, even if you're playing something unrelated like Valorant or Apex. When we're holding mouse 1, we make the scenarios based on our reflexes and intuition rather than something that requires conscious effort like static. I want us to look at the technicalities. It's going to be a lot, but bear with me, it might take your aim to the next level. During my time coaching, I spotted two main issues. The first example is the person who goes to flick and then freezes. That is, after his initial flick, he stops and is unsure where to flick next to complete the kill. The second person is someone who constantly overflicks and might even inaccurately flick multiple times before getting on target. Overflicking can be easily spotted by measuring the distance between the crosshair and the target. So what's the solution for each of these people? Let's take a look at our first example. We can see that after the initial flick, he freezes and has to slow things down to find the target. This tells me two things. Firstly, this guy might have solid speed since his initial flick looks good. The problem is his speed during the micro adjustment. His brain can't quickly identify where it should go next, so it takes a millisecond to route the direction it needs to go. If you like the way I break things down and think I'm insanely smart and handsome, do consider subscribing and signing up for my aim coaching in the description. So now we figure out the person has decent speed, but the lack of speed of his micros are what's really lacking. And this guy would do best to work on scenarios that pushes his overall speed like low TTK. This because it forces him to flick really fast, which opens up the possibility for more mistakes. It's further assisted by the fact that the bot dies so quickly, his brain now has to fix these obvious mistakes that are happening repeatedly and now more obviously due to the speed push. So how do we work on this? If you're freezing, the short answer is to work on low TTK scenarios, ball sheet, or even larger targets. Some relevant playlists will be linked here. You may also want to switch your FOV to 120 Overwatch. Secondly was the guy who missed his adjustment. Commonly, these people also suffer from freezing. This is where I want to break things down for you, where you begin to truly understand just how progression works. See, it's not about any specific issue, but about setting up and structuring ourselves for success. So since this guy is lacking in both inaccuracies with micros and in their speed, he must then structure a week-long playlist attacking his lines. The next week should then be focused on the speed part, so we're including both, yet structuring it in a way which allows our progress to grow properly and not intertwined. So what are some ways we can fix clean lines? One of the best routines for getting good lines is the H&A routines. But more than just giving you a playlist, I want to take you through the thought process, because the gold is really in the knowledge and not in the specific routine. Think with me here for a second. The first scenario is accuracy based and is the one that is mostly played. The second one is static TS, which is clustered. That makes us push for speed since it forces those raw flicks to naturally come out. And the third one is wide angles. He then uses the exact same structure for his pokeball. He's essentially covering the whole spectrum of flicking rather than just obsessing over a singular scenario type like speed or precision. Lastly, I want to talk about the people who never get talked about. This is the person who struggles with his flicking and then tracking. Most people might think this is similar to our freezing issue, except it's slightly different. At its core, this person doesn't lack speed but lacks the ability to cleanly put everything together. this person needs to work on scenarios that focus on smoother movements, wide wall, and scenarios that have higher health, or even ones that spawn outside of his field of view, forcing you to flick and then track in one swoop motion. A good scenario for this is something like Smoothbot TS, Tam Target Smooth, and Kin TS. And a great playlist recommendation for this is something like my own Flick and Track. So what did we learn today? Well, we learned that we have to structure our progress. And if you're a beginner, most likely we have to attack all these fields in different weeks, setting up a week for overflicking, another for speed or other issues you may have, not ignoring our fundamentals, and of course realizing target switching is just one part of your playlist. Lastly is to stop ignoring target switching just because you play a certain game and start realizing it's a part of your aim just as everything else is, since everything starts with a flick. If you like this video, do consider subscribing and signing up for my aim coaching in the description.